live from Kearney, Nebraska. No, not really. That's just a joke. But we're live here for the P2P Pro Draft. Getting going. First 16 picks. We'll kind of go through, talk about a few of the players as we get through. A lot of people hype up Kenneth Liu. A lot expect him to go number one. But we've also got a couple good QBs. Rodney Peterson's up there. And then we got Edgar Frederick from Oregon as well. So let's see where they all go. Excited to see how this little draft goes this year. And we get the Browns up on the clock first. Who do I think the Browns are going to take? Number one player available is Kenneth Liu out of Florida State. Tremendous player. We'll just pull him up real quick and look a little bit at his stats. If I can find him, Kenneth. There he is. So he was part of a national championship team with Florida State. His college ratings were really good, excellent tackling, maybe a touch slow, but good strength, good agility, excellent tackling, good locker room guy, knows how to play the position. He should be a really good player. So let's go down. That's who I think the Browns are taking, but let's go find out, shall we? Here we go. And, of course, they do take Kenneth Liu out of Florida State. Looks like his ratings rated out pretty well. His speed, nice 79, strength 61, agility. I mean, this guy's going to start day one. Excellent player for the Browns in Kenneth Liu. Definitely the top guy in the draft. There wasn't much question. That's where he was going. Like I said, excellent in college. Here are his stats. So 119 tackles freshman year. Kind of moved down a little bit, but Florida State's always had a ton of depth. So he played really well, and he's got a championship pedigree. So I expect the Browns, they're kind of stockpiling like FSU and Utah players, it seems like. So I think they'll be quite happy with Liu, and we should see him, become a candidate for Rookie of the Year on the defensive side of the ball. So moving on from there, we got the Raiders who got picked 2, and Zach's been saying he's been fluctuating back and forth between a couple different guys. So I'm really intrigued. It's really hard to say what the Raiders are going to take here. I know linemen were kind of slated high up in the draft. So Michael McLean out of Florida State, top running back. Maybe it's one of these top linemen. But Oakland's got a lot of needs. I know they have some needs at corner as well. So I'm curious if they end up taking a corner here at number 2, and maybe they reach a little bit because I think Howe and his agility looks a little bit funky. The guy out of UCF. So without further ado, let's see what the Raiders go ahead and do. Marion Wolf, that's my guy, and I got to say he was fantastic in college. Started a lot. Let's go take a look at his college career real quick before we break down how he looks in the if I can spell right. Wolf. Marion Wolf. So in college, he had a stellar career. He started, pretty much sophomore year on. Played a lot. Was a great guy. Passed defenses a lot. Doesn't get a lot of INTs, but that's Utah's defense isn't predicated on that really at all. Decent amount of tackles from the corner position. Kind of a lockdown corner. And he rated out pretty well in college as well. So speedy guy, good agility. His strength is pretty good. Has some work to do on learning the position, probably. His intangibles were great, and he was a tremendous guy for us at Utah. So let's see how happy Zach with the Raiders is going to be. And it looks like he rated out pretty well, I'd say. His speed and agility is still there. Doesn't have the hands, but endurance is there. He knows how to play the position. Intangibles are still great. Once he learns this position, gets a little bit of activity under his belt, I mean, I expect him to be starting caliber. I mean, he's at top end speed for corners in the league already with 86. So yeah, fantastic pick. A little bit of a reach. He was slated to go all the way late in the first round, and here he is at going at number 2. So he really jumped up there, and I think Zach's got to be happy with that pick. I'd be happy with it. 86 speed, 82 agility, nice strength, and stuff that's easy to develop like position skill. So fantastic pick there for the Raiders. So let's move on to the Titans. And the Titans, let's see who they will be taking. They've got a lot of needs. I know they were talking about QB, maybe a corner as well, but that takes one off the board. But let's go ahead and see. Titans take Michael Bundy, and I don't know where the heck he was slated, but he's out of Louisiana, so smaller school guy, decent speed and agility. He looks all right, honestly. Could tick up that speed maybe a little bit, get up to 85 or so, but his intangibles are great. Endurance is great. He was, let's go see how he did in college. But I got to be honest, I was not expecting that. And that's back-to-back corners in the top 3 picks. So he was out of Louisiana Lafayette, started 4 years. So he was kind of a low-ranked recruit. Ranked 800th out of high school. Now he's the number 3 pick. Played well. Decent pass defenses, decent amount of interceptions. Should be a solid player, but does need a little bit of development. So, that's I'd say a great pick for number 3. Unless we got some other ones here, and then we got an AI pick here. So this is the Ravens. And let's see what they do. They take Michael Sparks, center out of Georgia. That's a good player. Good overall, decent strength. It'll improve. His endurance is good enough to play the line. If he was down around 60, you're pretty much just looking at a platoon guy for a lineman. But I'd say, good pass blocking, good run blocking, good strength. That's a decent pick. On to the Cardinals. Oh, wait, we got to talk about Sparks a little bit. I mean, I guess let's talk about his college. If I can find him. Michael Sparks. So, what? Why is it pulling up scouting? Oh, he must be a. Well, I can't really find him. He's a lineman anyway. But Georgia was good. They've been an annual playoff team. He anchored the center position for that team. So. Good pick, like I said, for the Ravens, and that puts us on to the Cardinals. It's really hard to say who they'll take number 5, but I don't know exactly what they need, but let's jump on it. And that's another corner off the board. And so that's Ernest Howe, and he was slated to go in the top 10, but his agility is really a struggle, and it was an issue in college too. So I frankly was surprised to see him rated that highly in the draft, because I do think, like, for example, Marion Wolf was better. Ernest Howe, he had 62 agility in high school, and so I'm kind of going, or in college, and so I'm going through and kind of just showing you the college scouting, just so you can start to, I mean, you can, in a way, look at these players while they're in college. And so when I was looking over the draft prospects, I came and caught his agility was only 62 in college, and it's very rare that you see a guy get higher agilities when he goes to pro. So I wouldn't have expected that to go up, and that's a huge detriment for the corner position. So his speed's fine, but he's really going to have to develop that agility to be useful into the future. But maybe he booms in camp or whatever else. But if we can get that up, I mean, that's a big climb, 13 points up to 70. He'll be a decent player in the league, but he really does need to get that agility up. I mean, he's not going to be able to cover a lot of slant type routes, cuts, that kind of thing. He'll pretty much be a straight line cover corner. So you got teams that drop deep bombs, it'd be pretty decent, but you need that agility at the corner position. So kind of a little bit of a bust, I'd say, at number 5. And that puts us at the Giants. And I know Tobin's been a little bit nervous about who he's taking. I know he was looking at some linemen. So let's take a look and see who they got. And it looks like he got Hector Payne out of Virginia. So Zach controlled him in college. His strength is good. His run blocking's good. And he knows how to play the position, but his intangibles are fantastic. So the real work that's going to happen on Hector Payne is some significant strength training to build that endurance. But if he pushes that upward, he'll be able to find himself starting. But as it is now, he'd be a great platoon guy, especially in the running game. So he's a guy with that low endurance. He's not going to be able to play entire football games, but you kind of expect that out of young guys anyway. So a little bit of work on his endurance, and that's a solid starting caliber player with great leadership and intangibles in the locker room. I expect that, I mean, his speed and agility is decent, smart enough guy. No real knocks on him. Virginia obviously has been a great school, so hopefully he can develop that endurance in camp. Build some strength training, really push that hard, and get that up, and hopefully be starting, in the next couple seasons in the league. But definitely decent lineman, picked at number 6. So let's see. Let's go look at Payne's college career. Trying to make a little. Let's see. Trying to make a little show out of this thing. Hector Payne. Forgot his first name for a second. Hector. So Hector Payne. Played in championships teams, started every season for Virginia, played in the championship game, has been to the playoffs, solid player in college, and you can see, like I said, that endurance was an issue in college as well. That'll continue to be an issue in the pros, but hopefully he can build that up. So on to the 49ers. So let's see what they are going for here. So Wilton Benner out of Miami, Florida, another center. Not quite as good as Sparks, but still decent. He's going to have a little more work to do in that he's going to need to build up his pass and run blocking and focus on his endurance. But he's got the strength, and that's something that'll develop. So if he hits hard on some strength and endurance training, he could develop pretty well and come out of the league starting. But decent rotation guy for now. He's only 21, so by the time he's 23, like a lot of these guys coming into the league are 20, 22, 23 years old. So by the time he's 23, he'll probably look like a decent first-round caliber player. Let's see. So Benner, he was out of Miami, Florida, and they've had some up and down seasons. Gotta remember these first names. So Wilton Benner, we'll go look at Wilton's college. Wilton, and it must be. Do some guys just disappear from the college file or something? Because, Benner's missing. Interesting. Well, that puts us on the Jets' first pick. They've kind of done a lot of action. They must see a lot of prospects they like because they've moved quite a bit to get into the first round and get some higher picks, both with trades. Let's see, who do they trade with? The Vikings, and they traded with the Giants and picked up some high first round picks. So let's see what they go ahead and go with on their first one. I know they were looking for cornerback play as well. So do we see another one? And we're going with Eugene Graham out of Duke. So he's got the speed to play it and the strength. He's just really going to have to work on that endurance and learn the position, and then he should be pretty solid. Duke hasn't been a good program, so he was likely one of the better players over at Duke. So let's see what Eugene Graham was doing. He was a little bit underrated for a defensive end coming out of college. You can see his endurance was a little bit bad, strength, speed, but like I said, pay attention to some of these college scouts because it can give you some info on their ratings going into pro, because most of the time guys' ratings, unless they have like a good pro day or something, most of their ratings are not going to go up when they go to pro. They're actually going to go down. So if you see glaring issues in in how they looked in college, they're not going to look better in pro. So 86 overall, he was 419th coming out of high school, played for a bad Duke team, got a lot of reps playing for that Duke team, but wasn't particularly impressive from the defensive end position. He started all 4 years, but his sack numbers are low. But he does have decent speed and decent strength, so he could develop. He really just needs to work on that endurance. So, moving on to the Bucks. That's another AI team. Let's see what they end up with at number 9. So Troy McCarter. So what's that? The 4th cornerback off the board, and McCarter looks pretty good. His strength's low, but he's got the speed and agility. UCLA has been a pretty decent program in the Pac-12. I'd say they're top 2 or 3 program. I mean, you got Oregon and Stanford over on the other side, but UCLA They've typically been, if I remember right, they usually finish second in the South Division. But McCarter looks solid. His intangibles are a little bit suspect. He's going to have to learn the position and maybe improve his endurance a little bit. But that's 4 corners off the board this early. And let's just go take a look at how McCarter did. If I can learn to spell. Or just learn to delete. Let's see, what was Troy McCarter, right? Yep. Troy McCarter out of UCLA. He played kick returner all 4 seasons, started all 4 seasons, and it looks like he didn't miss any games. So that's promising. Great passes defensed. Yeah, I mean, solid player. See, but again, strength was pretty low in college. His speed and agility were great, but let's see if he can reach those numbers. Because sometimes I think what their college speed was might end up being what their potential speed will be. So he might be able to build back up to that spot because his agility kind of took a big hit going from college to pro. So maybe he can build that agility. Maybe he's got a higher ceiling than 30 for his strength, but overall not a bad pick. Let's see, that was number 9. So that's 4 corners off the board, and we got to wonder what the Jets are going to do. They're 2 picks later. They took a D end on that last one. Let's see if I got to think he was hoping McCarter would drop to number 10. So here we go. So let's see. They got free safety Poston. I'd say that's a solid pick. Decent speed, free safety position out of West Virginia. His agility will need to come up a little bit, but he already knows how to play the position like a pro, and he's got pro-level endurance. His hands are good. His intangibles are good. So that'll be a solid player who's definitely going to get reps, right away over there with the Jets, I'm imagining. Might play some slot corner because I know they're struggling a little bit at their cornerback position. West Virginia's been a pretty decent school as well. So let's go take a look at his college career before we move on. But I'd say that's a solid player, and that's the fifth DB off the board this early, which is kind of surprising. So Kevin Poston, he started his last 2 seasons, so his junior and senior year, he started for West Virginia. Decent passive defenses. He had 7 sacks from the corner position, 52 tackles. Looks like he covered pretty well. So, got to think he'll get some opportunities to do some similar things over there in New York. And let's see, what are his intangibles for close to home? Yeah, so he's not too far from home, and solid player that will develop. So that moves us on from Poston and on to another AI team with the Eagles. And they take Michael McLean. So he was slated to be the top running back. And that surprises me, honestly, with them having BB pretty entrenched. And this guy looks, honestly, redundant to BB. But McLean's a good back. He had a great career at Florida State. Florida State typically has led the league in rushing every season. So they're kind of a running back factory. And good hands. Honestly, he reminds me of Leno Harms, who I had on Washington last season, but he didn't re-sign with us, and I was kind of bummed out. I was kind of slating Leno Harms to start for us this year, but McLean will need to build up his endurance a bit. He could use more speed and agility, but he's regarded more as a power back. It's pretty common for guys to have, fifth guys at running back position in this league to be around 50 to 60 strength, and he's up at 69, and I'm expecting that'll develop as well. So McLean's decent pick, but they're already running back heavy over there in Philadelphia, so I don't quite understand the pick as they've got other needs for sure. And obviously, we'll go look at McLean's college career. So, Michael McLean, a lot of yards, ran for 4,000 plus, 51 TDs. He was part of a championship team. Good, solid player, solid yard per carry. Didn't really catch too many passes out of the backfield, but he's got the hands to do it at 72 in the pro game. So that takes us to pick number 12 and the Patriots. So they're taking Conrad Hudson out of Kentucky for a tight end position. And honestly, I'm a little surprised he's not rated very well. It's got to be a hands or his his blocking's great. So it surprises me it's rated him this low because I don't see any real knocks on him. This looks like a tight end. I mean, speed, agility's good. Maybe it's his intelligence that's kind of knocking his rating down, but his endurance is good. Pass and run blocking's good. Strength's decent enough for the position, and speed and agility is decent enough for the position. So he's going to be a solid blocker, especially in the passing game, definitely in the run game as well. His intangibles leave a little bit to be desired, but honestly, I mean, the game rates him as a 68 overall, but I would use this player. I would definitely use this player. So Hudson, Kentucky, they, as we all know in the college league, they barely missed the playoffs last season, so he didn't get an opportunity to play in those playoffs. But Kentucky was a good team, and I believe he was featured quite a bit. What am I doing wrong that is causing me to not... Conrad Hudson. That's what I spelled right. Is he another one of these guys that just disappeared from the game? Hudson from Kentucky. Yeah, I guess the college file he's missing from. So, fortunately, won't be able to scout him much further than what we got here. But, yeah, I mean, I look at it. It's decent tight end. Should be a solid player. So that brings us to number 13 and the Seahawks. And finally, we got that UCF quarterback off the board, Rodney Peterson. And yeah, honestly, he looks decent. I mean, he looks kind of like Tyson Bravo a little bit. Bravo's a little bit smarter and got a bit better arm, but it's possible. I mean, if he can get up to 85, 86 with that arm, he'll be a solid player. He can move around in the pocket a little bit. He's not quick. His intangibles are decent enough, but this looks like a player worth developing to me for sure. Decent hands, so he's not, for a QB, so like 14 hands for a QB is pretty decent. So if he gets hit, he's not going to fumble as much, but he's definitely going to be a full this isn't Russell Wilson, that's for sure. Definitely going to be a full pocket QB, and he'll be able to move a little bit laterally and avoid some sacks, but overall, solid pick, I'd say. At 13, he was slated to go top 10, so it was surprising to see him drop a little bit, but he was good. UCF has been a good program. There we go. Rodney Peterson. There's his college stats. Maybe a little high on the interceptions. He kind of alternated between, going between 7 and double digits. But he started all 4 seasons at UCF, so long pedigree, a lot of experience, and it kind of shows through in how he rated. So Seahawks got to be happy with Peterson, and that brings us back to the 3rd pick for the Jets. Let's see if they are able to keep building on this defense with pick number 14. So we've got Bert Culp, a guard, and he was slated to go high too, so I was frankly surprised to see him drop. He looks decent, just another guy that really needs to develop that endurance, and that's about it. Knows how to play the position, probably could develop some run blocking as well. He's, for a lineman even, he's a little slow, but, guard position, unless he's running a bunch of counters and needs to pull some guards or something, he shouldn't need to move too much. But, that's a solid pick. A guy that I kind of, frankly, thought was going to go higher in the first round, maybe in the top 5. But he's dropped down here to the Jets at number 14. And let's see, what school did he came out of A&M, and A&M hasn't been good. They've had talent, but A&M hasn't been good. I expect he was starting all 4 years for them. Oh, don't tell me he's another guy that's just missing from the file. Bert Culp, and he's just straight missing. So we won't be able to find out what he was really doing in college, but I know A&M really hasn't been the most spectacular of teams, but he looks like a pretty spectacular player, and that drops us down to number 15 in the Saints, another AI team. Let's see who they take. That's going to be Claude McClanahan, and he's a strong safety. He's another guy that was slated to go top 10, and frankly, I like that guy. He's got the endurance to play. He already knows how to play the position. Speed, agility, and strength is all good for a strong safety, and he's only 21 years old. But, coming out of a small school, sometimes it's hard to predict how those small school players are going to convert. So he's coming in rated as an 85. At a college. I really hope that McClanahan, and he's gonna be out of the. Oh, it's 2 C's. MCC. Claude McClanahan. So there's his stats out of Arkansas State. He was a 273rd ranked recruit in the 2016 class. Decent tackles, seemed to play pretty well. Defended the pass well when he needed to. His tackles for loss were really high, so it looks like he's able to read and stop running backs behind the line of scrimmage pretty regularly. So solid pick, I'd say, for the Saints. And that brings us to the final pick of our stream today, and the Los Angeles Chargers. Let's see where they go with it. So that's going to be Nicholas McGraw. He's another guy that was slated to go high out of LSU. His strength's a little bit suspect, endurance a little bit suspect, but speed is pretty good. He knows how to play the positions, but he's really going to have to work on that strength, really going to have to work on that endurance. LSU has been good, and they've typically had talented players. So MCGRAW. So Nicholas McGraw. There's his college stats. So he did have 10 sacks one season. Then he got hurt his junior year, and wasn't really able to replicate that. And then he came back and had a pretty solid season. Forced 3 fumbles, had 4 sacks. Nothing overly impressive. There's his ratings while he was in college. So speed, decent. Endurance was a little bit suspect, but overall decent pick, I think, for number 16. And that kind of wraps things up for our first day of draft coverage. Overall, pretty good. Like a lot of the players that I've seen coming through. Like a lot of the picks, frankly. Few folks I think lucked out. I think seeing Marion Wolf jump all the way from the end of the first round to the first was a bit surprising, and we saw some of these other guys drop down lower, and some of those guys look pretty good, like Peterson and